Welcome to AU. Welcome to our beautiful new facility. We're so excited to be able to show off what we call this room. It's the Media Innovation Lab. And so I can't think of anything better than to have the principals at Vox.com talk to us about media and innovation. We're giving tours of the building. If you haven't had a tour, we have some tour guides. Alexis, raise your hand. Happy to show you after the talk this evening. Real briefly, I just wanted to tell you that the school has a lot of innovative graduate programs that are built for working people, that are online on the weekends and at nights. We have a lot of people who are, I think, alums of them. From the interactive journalism program, we've got a lot of people here. From the media entrepreneurship program, we've got a lot of people here. And we have a lot of people here, we would like to, soon to have a lot of people here from our latest, newest program, which is gaming. Have you guys all heard about our Masters of Gaming? You have. I see the heads going up and down. And it's a degree in, we're the only university that offers a program in persuasive play. And the reason I want to mention this to you is you might know that because of Dean Jeff Rutenbeck, please wave hello to Dean in the back of the room. Hello. We have a $250,000 grant from the Knight Foundation to fund 3 fellows, which will be fully funded, tuition and living expenses to come get MAs in the Masters of Gaming program while thinking through rethinking journalism and media leadership. And so they're all part of a program called JOLT, which stands for Journalism Leadership Transformation. But these 3 fellowships are available right this second. And they start in January, so I can't tell anybody to leave their jobs or anything, but if you're interested, he can tell you. But if you're interested, more than happy to talk to you about that. I was going to thank Matt Mansfield, God bless him, Matt, poor thing. Oh, Matt, hi. He's had to talk to me every week since February. That's what as we're learning here at the School of Communication. We're in a new building, and so we have to learn where things are and how to work it. And so Matt's been extremely patient. I can't think of a better person to represent ONADC and to lead you guys, taking people around and finding just quite extraordinary speakers. So he brought you here tonight, ONADC, and all those thanks go to Matt Mansfield. I also want to thank some people on our own staff and faculty. I want to thank Frank Fitzmaurice, who heads all the technology here in the building. Anything that plugs in or lights up or has to be shown, he's in charge of that. He's in charge of all of us as well. Sharon Metcalf and her crew from Strategic Partnerships. I want to thank Charmine Hassan-Bracciali and the people from the graduate offices that are helping man our tables. And I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody, but of course I want to thank Dean Rutenbeck, who the reason that we have all of this here is totally due to the dean. Matt, should I go ahead and introduce our speakers? Are you? You're doing fine, Amy. Thank you. That's what I needed him to tell me every week since February. First, I want to introduce Yuri. You might not recognize him, because I thought he looked like that. He's the designer at Vox.com, which means he helps build the website and the tools to help the journalists with new forms of storytelling, quite extraordinary forms of storytelling that I know I'm enjoying as much as everybody else. And before that, he was at the Washington Post, which he described to me as a place where he built stuff. So I think Yuri likes to communicate a lot more visually. Melissa Bell is the executive editor and co-founder of Vox.com. She's responsible for overseeing the product build and the website, and to think everything she can about how technology and editorial intersect. I am thrilled to pieces to have them both here tonight. They're going to give a presentation about 25, 30 minutes, and then Matt's going to lead them through a Q&A. So thank you all for being here, and over to you guys.
Thank you so much, and thanks everyone for coming. I'm just going to hide my water bottle somewhere. So that was a wonderful intro, and I appreciate being here with you guys. It's exciting to come up to this university. I haven't been here in a couple years, so all of this building is really new and beautiful. So to start, she already introduced me, but I'm Melissa Bell. I'm at Melissa Bell on Twitter. I don't tweet that often, but I do reply to tweets. So if you guys have comments or thoughts or anything about what we do, if you have questions about the talk tonight, or if you have any questions about Vox in the future, always just hit me up on Twitter, and I'm happy to talk to you guys about whatever you want. So today we're going to talk to you about Vox. I hope most of you are familiar with our site, but if you're not, that's okay. I'll talk you through it. We started Vox.com. I think we started thinking about it probably about a year and a half ago. And we wanted to think about the question that we felt was sort of a pressing question for journalism today. We were working, myself and Yuri were both working at the Washington Post, and we were seeing just a huge amount of information available to people. I covered the Egyptian Revolution from my desk in Washington, D.C., because there was just so much information pouring in from Tahrir Square, from our foreign correspondents, from Twitter, from social media. There was just so much information. What was difficult was to find a way to figure out the pathways through the information, what was true, what was false. It was almost like we had this just great benefit of ability to access anything, anywhere. But finding the right information for when you needed it was really the difficulty that we were having. And we created Vox out of this idea that there had to be a better solution to presenting news today. And what we found was that we wanted to help people understand the news. We wanted to bring context to people. We wanted to the stories that people have about the big topics of the day. I like to think of it a little bit as like we're trying to answer the why in the who, what, when, where, and why. We have a lot of answers out there right now, but we want to help people understand what's the background, what this story really means to us. So that's what we're doing at Vox. And we're part of a larger company. It's called Vox Media. And we are a company that builds brands for really engaged audiences. We have 7 different verticals. Vox.com is just one of 7. We also have Curbed, Eater, Racked, The Verge, Polygon, and Vox. Did I catch all of those? It's like the dwarfs. You never know. There's always like one missing. Oh, and SB Nation, of course. SB Nation, which was the original brand. And we Vox Media has just we've been with them for about 9 months, and it's been a fantastic experience. And one of the things that we really believe at Vox Media and at Vox.com is this merger between technology and editorial. And this is a lot of what we want to talk about today. So at Vox.com, we're trying to cover everything from the latest breaking news to building resources that we call card stacks that you can see over here on the right-hand side. And these we feel are what we're trying to help readers figure out the depth of information that they need to know about a story. Sometimes you need to know just a little bit. Sometimes you need to know 3 sentences. Sometimes you need to know a whole background of information on something like Ebola. And it all depends on the amount of time you have as a reader, the amount of information you have previous to coming to the story. And these are the questions that we're trying to answer for ourselves. And how we do that is what we'd really like to talk to you guys about tonight. Our team is made up of a mix of people. We don't think of our newsroom as reporters anymore. We think of our newsroom as people who want to tell stories together. It's a combination of reporters, editors, videographers, designers, developers, support people, people who are looking at analytics, people who are thinking about engagement and distribution. We see all of these different tasks as contributing to the same effort, to bringing information, the right information to people at the right time. It's been around 6 months since we launched, and we were able to, these are all Yuri's gifts, by the way. And they're awesome, but they're also like addictive to look at. We've been working at it for about 6 months, and it's been a fantastic 6 months. It's been a real roller coaster of an experience. Not roller coaster is a bad term. A rocket ship, I guess, a train speeding out of control, and what we've seen is a huge response to the content that we're producing. We have about 22 million unique visitors every month. And I think that this shows that there was a need for a site that was helping to cut through a lot of the information and deliver some basic information around stories. And we're really excited about this growth. We see this as a huge that this is just the start of what we want to do. And we also feel that our site right now is just at the beginning stages. Sorry, I'm skipping ahead. We launched incredibly quickly at Vox, and I'll get into this a little bit later as to why we decided to launch quickly. But we see this as something that we're publicly iterating on, that we're learning as we go, and that we're hopefully going to be building a site that will continue to be around for many years to come, and that will be able to build up these resources for readers over time, and that will get better every single day. So I wanted to tell a little bit of the story, our origin story. All of us came from different backgrounds, but most of the founding team is what I like to call hacker journalists. We were bloggers who joined traditional newsrooms, or we were designers who decided to learn how to code on the side, or we were reporters who decided to pick up podcasting, or we were motion graphic artists who decided to learn how to film on the side. We were people who were really curious about the techniques of our craft. And that let us be curious about the different formats that you can tell stories in. I really believe right now we're just scratching the surface of digital journalism. We've been around for 25 years, but we don't have really set industry standards yet. There's still so many big questions to understand and answer. And we met, Yuri and I met, you can see him in his traditional sunglasses up there on the screen, at the Washington Post. And this is a group of our colleagues at the Washington Post, all super fantastic, smart people who we were lucky enough to work with for a short time. And one of the things that we realized at the Post, it's a wonderful institution with a lot of questions that they're asking right now. How do you deliver news in the best way? How do you keep readers engaged? How do you tell stories in multimedia formats? Sometimes you can be overwhelmed with the questions. And so what we decided to do was to think small. We actually wanted to take one question and try to figure it out and not overwhelm ourselves with all of the many questions that you can ask. So what we did was it's a big organization too. We were all in different groups. Some of us were in the design group, some of us were in the technology group, others were reporters, others were, in certain sections. There's somebody in the sports section up there. And what we decided to do is we just decided to hang out and start talking about questions that we had. And one question that we first became interested in was how to cover live news. We really thought a lot about this. How do you really make sense when all of this information is coming in at you? What can you do about that? So what we decided to do is really start small with just that one question. What's a better tool for that? We started calling ourselves a beta group, and the idea was to pick a specific focus, to launch fast, and to iterate. We also had a motto. It's have fun with cool people building cool things. If you don't recognize the man that I'm with, it's Ben Bradley, who was the former editor of the Washington Post, and who sadly passed away this week. And he became just an incredible force in our lives. We were very lucky to know him at the end of his life. And if you don't know him and you're interested in journalism, you should go out and read every story that's been written about him in the last few days. There's so many lessons in his life. But one thing that Ben did, Ben was just such a gregarious person. He loved to be involved in our work, even up to the very end. I think he was 92 in this photograph. And we built a live blog tool, and we wanted to launch it in public, but we didn't want to have it in a big, flashy way. So we asked Sally Quinn and Ben Bradley if we could live blog the season premiere of Mad Men with them providing commentary. And obviously they were, big figures in the 60s, and we thought that it would be interesting to hear their input on a show about the 60s. And so it was kind of a fun, it was silly. We wanted to have fun with this. We didn't want to make everything so serious all the time. But we were able to go to their house. We got dressed up. We had some bourbons. They told us some stories about the 60s. And then Ben promptly fell asleep. He thought the show was totally boring. But that first project allowed us to start building out a live blog platform for the Washington Post. And it imbued so much of the work that we did in the years to come. When we moved over to Vox, we took those values with us to think small, think about a few questions that you can answer, and then to learn as you go. As I said, we launched in 9 weeks. This is the initial team that we started with. We decided to focus on just one new bit of functionality, which was our card stacks. We were able to replicate the SB Nation model for our main site, and then we decided that we would just innovate in the open. And take risks with it. Matt, I'm going to mispronounce his name, Matt Mullenweg? Matt Mullenweg of WordPress. He is, he's just this really smart digital thinker. And I believe he said, I could be butchering this, but I believe he said that, now I'm totally butchering this now. What is it? Oxygen, ideas, something? Yeah. Users are oxygen to ideas. And so, thank you for helping me on that one. Teamwork here. Okay, so anyway, users are like ideas to oxygen. You can build a tool, you can have a bunch of hypotheses, you can have a bunch of theories about how things work, but if you don't actually put it out there in the open and you don't have people use it, you're never going to learn from it. So we started with a hack week. We started small. This is the Vox Media office. You guys should all come visit us one night. We should have an O&A event there, Matt. And we decided to just go fast and furious for a week and build the site out as quickly as possible. And like I said, we decided to start simple and small. It was not anything flashy. We didn't, solve journalism. We didn't, create a silver bullet. We just built a great template and a nice design. And we thought a lot about what was our value add, and we wanted to solve one problem. That was the first problem that we wanted to solve, was thinking about these card stacks, these resources for information. If you're familiar with our site and you see, we should have put the end result on here as well. You can see that what we actually mocked out in the first week is very similar to what we have up on the site today. We created a prototype working together. We had the editors, the writers, the developers, and the designers all in the same room together, all talking together, all sharing ideas together. And so we were able to make this in about a day and a half, rather than the traditional pattern of, a lot of meetings, a lot of conversations, a lot of debate about what would work. It just all got out in one sort of big brain dump. So the lessons for me that I want to always stick by is you get real about the project, you get real about the solve that you want to make, you launch that product, you listen to what the users are saying about that. There's so many ways that we can listen now. You need to be talking to the people who are using the product. You think about the internal and the external user. You think about your readers. You see the data that is coming in from all different sources. Like I said, I reply to tweets. It's actually something that Yuri taught me to do. He replies to almost anytime somebody is worrying about a bug on our site, Yuri will respond to them and talk them through the bug fixes, and then eventually send it over to the support team. And I think that's really important, to be in communication with your readers. And then you measure what's working and what's not, and you're honest about your errors, and you improve on it. I think that every failure you have is a step closer to success in the end. So we've seen our card stacks. As you can see, this is the prototype, and this is the live card stack. We've seen a huge amount of success with this, but it didn't come overnight. At first, our card stacks we launched, and they were a big hit. And then our editorial team was like, these are really hard to do, and they're really hard to maintain, and they're hard to build. And there was a little while there that we were uncertain about whether or not these were successful. And we thought maybe we had a good idea, but it didn't work out, and we needed to go back to the drawing board. But we figured out a couple major pain points, and we improved on them in small ways, and now we're seeing a huge amount of traffic come from them. Readers are returning to these card stacks. They're using them as resources items. I'm so excited about the potential of them. And we're not just doing it with card stacks. Now we've been up in production for 6 months. We've been trying a bunch of different formats. I believe news can be delivered in all sorts of different ways, and we should be meeting readers in the way that they want to see it. We've created a really great video program. One video alone had 14 million views, but I have to say that it had sex in the title, so that helped. But it was a great video. We have seen our other videos have done incredibly well as well. And I think that what's been really proud for me to see is that we're reporting on really smart, difficult, complicated subjects, but we're doing it in a technique and a format that appeals to readers right now. We also have a wonderful features program that we spend a lot of extra time thinking about the design, thinking about the build. Yuri will talk a little bit more about how we do this. But we're seeing great results from the readers. They want to stay on the site. They want to read these. They want to understand what we're talking about. So we believe in having all sorts of different types. Some of our stories, 3 sentences, nothing more. Some of our sentences are long, in-depth features. Some of them are videos, some of them card stacks. I think the possibilities are endless right now for how we can create our journalism. And we do this, if you're familiar with Vox Media at all, we do this with a platform called Chorus. It's our modern media stack. It always reminds me of like some Broadway song or something, Pirates of Penzance, I don't know why. Anyway, so this is where we bring all of the activity of like users being able, people who need to create story tools are all organized in one place, in one location. And people really think that, I think that that sometimes people believe that the tools are what makes us successful. And I want to just talk about this before I hand it off to Yuri, because Yuri's really going to talk about what's the truth behind that. The tools are great. We've built some fantastic tools, but it isn't our tools. While Chorus is totally the shit, it's not our magic sauce. Our culture and our talent is our magic sauce. Chorus is the result. And Yuri's going to go a little more in depth about how our culture allows us to be so fast, to move so fast, and to iterate in these ways. So I'll turn it over to Mr. Yuri Victor.
Somewhere. Howdy, y'all. I'm Yuri Victor, at Yuri Victor on Twitter. If you're tweeting with the ONADC hashtag, I should be favoring it right now. You might have seen a favorite. If not, then something on my computer is broken, and I'm sorry. I'm a designer, and I get to work with all of these wonderful people. These are all the product team that work on Vox.com. Really, really great people made up of very different resources and backgrounds. We have people from editorial, we have people that are designers, we have people that are developers, we have people that do support, and we have people from even different countries. So it's really, really fun to get to work with them. And about half of them actually work on the platform course, and about half of them work with me on our editorial apps team. And our motto is just that we ship shit. We ship it fast, and we just ship it. And so some of the stuff we do is we do stuff like looking at data. So what we did is we took all of the letters that people sent to the FCC about net neutrality, and then parsed it and counted how many fucks they gave. Apparently it was 4,377. And then we broke down all the different variations of fuck and all the other different cuss words. And then we try to do storytelling. So one of the first things that we did, and we were crazy, so our first week after launching this massive site, we decided to do a 28-page piece on porn. And it's actually a really humanizing story. I know the topic seems taboo, but we try to put a face on how these people actually, like on their first date, how do they talk to people, when do they actually come out to the person that they're dating, when do they tell their kids, how do they tell their family. And there were just some really beautiful, some of them really, really funny, like one person interacting with their grandma, and the grandma just like didn't care, she was an old hippie, and just thought it was hilarious. And so it's just like these really like kind of humanizing stories, and so we like to tell stories like that, and we do a lot of these. In fact, we did 2 of these this week. One was a really great in-depth piece about the problem of homelessness in San Francisco. We had a photographer out there we had another reporter out there going and talking to people, finding out these people's stories, letting them tell it with audio, and really great, journalism and photography. Another one, was Ebola. So this came out, Ebola is really big. We were able to secure 4 pieces. That's going to be an ongoing series of people that actually have lived through Ebola. And they're just really amazing stories. If you get a chance to check these out, we launched both of those this week. And then another thing that we do a lot of is we build tools. We build tools not just for reporters, but we build tools for designers and developers too, to make our own lives better. We build tools for support people to make their lives better. And it makes everything easier when we can actually have tools to help us do our jobs. So that's like really interesting. We're doing all this really cool stuff, and we're doing it really, really fast, and we were doing something that's about 3 things a week. But how does it all get done? And so before, in February, I spoke at ONADC, and I talked about how fucked newsrooms are and getting stuff done. And so when we started Vox, we really wanted to kind of think about all of the problems that we'd seen in other newsrooms I've been in. I've worked with hundreds of newsrooms now, and I've worked in every single role. I've been a photographer, a reporter, an editor. I've been a copy editor. I've worked in the marketing department. I've worked in the advertising department. I even worked in the press room. So I've worked just about every role, and so we had a lot of conversations about how can we actually change this. And now 6 months in, we get to look back and say, okay, here's what we know is working. So I want to go through some of those. First, we wanted to rebuild the organization. And one of the big problems that we saw was that there was just so many different silos. So what we wanted to do was we wanted to move everyone to the newsroom. So that's my desk. Melissa sits behind that computer, and there's Ezra. And that's how close I, as a designer and developer, sit to the top people. And I sit right next to our features editor and our managing editor, and so do the other designers and developers that work on the website. We all sit next to each other, and it becomes really, really powerful. So we wanted to spend less time on the org chart. And if there's any programmers in here, you'll get this joke. It's one of the founders of Vox Media. But what it basically means is that an organizational chart is all about reporting up and not reporting sideways. And that's what most of your interactions are. It's not, I'm not going and reporting to the, at a lot of organizations, I'm not going to the executive editor. I'm a reporter and I need to talk to a designer, or I need to talk to a developer, or I need to talk to a data person. I need to talk to a photographer so I can get this assignment that they can go out with me. And that an organizational chart is not built for sideways organization. There's no line sideways. And those are the people that you really want to build with. And so when we all work together, we actually can do that because we're all actually next to each other. So how we do that is we have a reporting structure. So Melissa's in charge, and trust me, anything she says, we do. She runs everything, and I would not be here if it wasn't for her. But all the important activities happening on the teams. So we'll do a small team that'll work on the Ebola project, or a small team that works on the fall TV guide, and I'll work with a different designer sometimes, and I'll work with another developer maybe, or I'll work with somebody from usually several people from editorial. And so it's this really, really small teams that's actually getting all of this stuff done, and that starts to bubble up into the larger organization of how we do things. So that's basically the small teams that are constantly changing. So it's not just you go and have a team that goes off and they do their own thing. I've worked with now like 5 or 6 different designers since I've started. I've worked with a ton of different reporters and editors, almost every single one at Vox, working on projects together and just quickly spinning up. And these really small teams are actually the ones that are getting all of this stuff done. And so this is how it looks. So we'll have somebody from content, we work a lot with advertising, and we have our product people, and in the middle we like to call it the magic. So we have this kind of like magic when we get all those people together, and what we really try to strive for is the middle part, is that some people may be more content, some people may be more product, some people may be more advertising, but when we get people from all of those and put them on a small team, what we really see is we get things done really, really quickly. And then we communicate smarter. Meetings and emails suck. If you go to a meeting, somebody has to take notes that you then get via email, that somebody then replies all, and then you're on like a 30 email string. And then the problem is if you weren't on that 30 email string, somebody goes, oh yeah, we forgot to loop in so-and-so. And so you come into this and you now have a book that you have to read. And then people are like, I have no idea what's going on. So what do? You call another meeting that sends out another email, and it's a never ending, horrible, horrible process. So what we do is we do 3 things I think that are really, really important. We document everything. So every single process that we do, how things get done, the code, what is the reporting process? If I want to start a feature, I shouldn't have to go and ask 10 people. I shouldn't have to create a meeting to do that. There should be a document that I can go and pull up somewhere. If there's a problem with an ad, there should be documentation that I can pull up somewhere. We use GitHub for a lot of that. We also have an internal tool called Binder that has everybody's contact, all of the information that you need. If you want to run an ad, if you want to do this, if you want to work with the editorial apps team, if you want to pitch something, all of that is documented and available for everyone. And then we get everyone in chat. The great thing about chat is that it solves so many problems that we have, which is that people are out of the loop. And so everybody then has a voice suddenly. Everybody then has like the ability to give back and be able to share a language and learn together. So all of our people are in the same Vox.com room. A lot of us have written stories. I think I've done 2 now. We've had somebody that wasn't even a Vox person, that's just a support manager at Vox Media, who's actually written stories, who's come in. When they hear news, they come in and tell us. And so we end up working really well together because we're all communicating constantly and everybody knows what's going on. And then we make tons and tons of lists. Every time a new project starts, we drop in a list. We copy the list from the last ones of things. Oh, we noticed that every time we launch this, we also have to end up doing this social share thing or linting on Twitter. So that way, the next time, we're never going to forget that again because we have a list that we can use and reference every time we do a project. And then we build things in stages. Like Melissa said, talk about like focusing down is really trying to come up with We do this 3 ways. The first time we build something, like as a developer, sometimes it's going to take some time. And sometimes you don't want to do that because it's going to take, it's going to take 2 weeks, and then you're never going to use that again, and it's not going to be any use. But there are some stories that are worth it. There are some stories that you want to tell that are going to take time, and you're going to have to spend the time on them and tell them. So we kind of try to just determine that from the beginning. If somebody wants, like a video feature list that we just launched, and we have to create a lazy loading solution for it, are we going to reuse that? Yeah, we probably are. So while we're building, we want to think about that. So then on the second reuse, instead of taking 1 to 2 weeks, if we want to use this again, it should only take 3 days. And then finally, on the final use, it should be 1 day or less, or even 1 hour, or 1 click, or just a button, or I shouldn't even have to be involved. That's how we want to end up building things, so that instead of pursuing me or doing this every time, we just create reusable tools that journalists have new storytelling power right next to them. So how does this work in the world? So we did a series, 83 photo piece from a road trip through Brazil during the World Cup, looking at all the things happening down there, what is life like down there in all of these towns, not just in the major towns where the games were happening, but all of the towns around Brazil. And it was a really, really great piece, and it takes a lot of effort to lay out these photos and kind of come up with a new way, because photo galleries drive me crazy. Not every image is equal, and you want some images to be full screen, and you want some images to be small, and they're also if it was not for page views, you would not have photo galleries. I'm almost positive they're not good, and so we wanted to do something really great. So it was actually, we did 4 pages of beautiful photo spreads with different topics, but 83 pieces is really, really tough. And we also do maps and charts. I don't know if you've seen that. We do them a lot, like every single day. And if I had to be involved every single day, I would never get anything else done. So we built something called Story Builder that automatically does this for people. So if you want to build a beautiful photo essay, you click a couple buttons, and you still have to get all the photos, and you have to actually put them, and then you determine the sizes, and all that still has to happen. But I'm not involved in that process, and designers doesn't have to be involved in that process. And we now have, as of today, 13 different tools like this. If you've seen them on other sites like BuzzFeed's image slider, we have that. We have a zoom tool, modal tool, a table of contents, so it'll actually parse your story and then build a table of contents. So if you have a really long article and you want to link down there, we can do that. We have the same ability with video. So if you have a video, it'll parse it, and actually you can pick points in there, and it'll build out a table of contents for you. So we had this toggle. When we first launched, we really wanted to show, there's so much of our notes in reporting that never make it public, and we really wanted to show the interview behind the story, so what people actually said in their own words. And so we actually started putting that with the story, and we decided to use a toggle for it so that people could link directly to that section. So you can link just to the actual interview itself rather than the story, because sometimes a really great question and answer with somebody is sometimes more compelling than a story. And that also let us see really quickly that people were sending that out, and so we're doing a lot more question and answer type stuff. But then we take the one step that took a day, then we turn it into a tool so that we can do a debate internally about which is better, pie versus cake, and the answer is, of course, cake. And there was a big heated debate. We actually cooked it, and everybody baked, and it was a really awesome day. But now it's just a snippet. It's one click. So if they want to use this, they click a button, it's right next to their story, and it's done. And we were trying to build more and more tools for them that it's one click. One click, and you have whatever you need, and that gives them a really great path. Another thing that I never really realized how important it was until I had great support people, and because the organizations that I worked at didn't value support, but when you value support, you get valuable support. So I actually have, if something goes wrong, like right now, and I'm sitting here speaking, I don't have to jump on my laptop and do it, because we have a team called DWI, which stands for Deal With It, and that's what their one job is. Their job is to deal with it. And so we have resources at our disposal that actually allow us to take time off and to do things, and so they were constantly supporting one another. Because support isn't just one person. It's not the HR department. It's not like the support department. Support is supposed to be for everyone. And that's really what I do. What I really do is I support journalists at Vox by helping them tell stories. I like to think that I'm the bicycle for journalism. I'm not the driver. I'm not building the stuff and then leaving them, they just sit in the back and play on their phone. we're actually like working this together. I'm building the tools so that they can go faster from one place to the next, to make their job easier, to make their lives easier, and to allow them to tell stories in ways that they never could before. And also, without like having to get in and code and having to do all this technology stuff, they just have really easy access to make these things happen. So how about an example? So we had an amazing intern. He was a designer, and he was spending all of his time designing these share graphics for Twitter and Facebook. And the thing is, if you include an image, and I'm sure if you're on Twitter, you know that you get like 300% more click-throughs if you have an image or whatever it is. It's some big number, it's a lot, so it's really, really important. And so what I did was I said, okay, I don't want you spending time on this. I want you actually doing like learning and doing really cool stuff that you're really, really excited about. So I built a tool so that anybody could create their own share thing. And this is actually open source. If it's on the Vox Media GitHub page, it's used by tons of organizations now. I just saw somebody trying to actually monetize this. Totally awesome. Like, these tools are out there, and we're going to continue open sourcing these tools that we're launching internally. But now suddenly, all of the reporters can actually like build their own stuff. So they took all the designers' work and we put it on each individual reporter, so we shared that support. And he was able to actually go and learn some JavaScript and learn more HTML and CSS, and he built this really cool spelling bee quiz where you could listen to a word and then try to see if you could spell it. Then, of course, because we're constantly iterating and trying to make things better, he turned that into a quiz tool. So reporters were supporting the designer by actually using a tool that I built that helped the designer, that freed them up to build another tool for reporters. And that's what ends up happening is you create this really great circle where every single person is supporting somebody else constantly. And it creates a different kind of organization. When you think of yourself as supporting one another, it changes your mentality of how we treat people, how we interact with people, and how we do things. And that's really, like, I think the main point is we put caring first. Because the letter C comes before the letter P, and all the things that are important, communication, collaboration, culture, context, caring, community, are more important than the projects, the process, the products, and the plans. And if we're not here having fun, if we're miserable every day, then we're not doing our job. We're failing each other. And that's like really sad. And it was actually funny. We were on the train here, Melissa and I, and we were having like a serious conversation about like resource allocation and how we were gonna like do these projects. And she just starts like giggling, and I was like, "What? What did I say? Did I like say something horrible? Like what's going on?" And she's like, "I'm just so happy that we're doing this. I'm so happy with what we've done." And that's what we want in an organization, when you're surrounded by people that are happy that they're doing that. We're all trying to take care of one another. So I want to tell a little story, if y'all don't mind, about my first day at Vox. So when you first get hired on your first day, we send out an email, and all of a sudden I had like 100 replies from people, and I'm not used to like people replying all over the place. Most people don't come and talk to developers at a lot of organizations I've worked for, and it's just like a rule. And so all these people started replying and saying like really nice things, like, "I'm so happy to have you here. Oh, I followed you on Twitter. Oh, this was hilarious. Oh, I saw you went to this college. Oh, I saw you did this." And went and looked me up and like were sending me funny gifts, and it was like, wow, I feel really part of the organization. But the really cool thing was we got on chat right away, and I started getting messages from people at Vox Media that I still have never even worked with. And they reached out and they said, "Hey, do you have 5 minutes today? Jump on a Google Hangout." These people, some people live in California, we have people in almost every time zone all around the world, and so they reached out and did a 5-minute call. And all they wanted to know was, is there anything you need? What can I help you with? So now when somebody new starts, I send them a message and say, "You got 5 minutes? What do you need? What can I help you with?" Because really what the truth is that there's a feeling in a lot of organizations where you feel all alone. And if you've been in digital for a long time, you may have been the only digital person, and you feel really alone. And if we all start to try to take care of each other, we can spark together. So I want to thank all the Vox people who have helped me, all the people that support me at Vox, Melissa. I want to thank all of you. Thanks to AU, thanks to ONA, thanks to Matt for getting us here. Thanks to all of you for coming out. And just maybe when you get back to work, message somebody and ask, "Do you need anything? Is there anything I can help you with?" And we can make a better media world. Thank you.
So, hey, we're going to have about 10 or so minutes for... I'm Matt Mansfield, by the way. Hi, I'm late because the president had a motorcade tonight. I was not counting on Connecticut Avenue being shut. Do you guys want to stand up? Do you want to sit up here? What do you want to do? Yeah, okay, cool.
I got my water, though.
Yeah, you can grab your water. Yeah. So while they're getting in position, I'll just make a quick plug for the next ONADC, which is November 11th, and it's going to be at Medill, another fine school in the District of Columbia. And the topic will be on QA and why it's important, and it'll be Josh Core from Viget, so it should be fun. I'm going to ask you guys a question, so I'm going to get in position with the mic over there. So I want to get the crowd to ask questions, but I also just want to say, this is the question for you guys. You can answer it before or after crowd questions. And this is the headline, and you have to answer the headline. The headline is, why Vox is succeeding in one sentence. That's a very Vox kind of
Yuri
headline.
Victor. No.
That's not a sentence.
It's a phrase. I don't know. Do you want us to wait or you want us to?
No, I want you to go.
Oh, okay.
Go.
Why is Vox succeeding in one sentence? We usually use 3 sentences.
I know, that's why this is hard. Also, you're the top editor, so I figure you're
I'm not
up to the
the
chance.
editor, I'm one of many. Okay, that's a good answer. Do 3 sentences, you'll edit it down.
Or 3 charts.
Yuri's actually one
2
of the
maps.
top editors. It's funny. Okay, I'm going to tell a story, and then I'll get to the sentence.
Okay, that's cool.
So Matt always gets mad at me because I'm a rambler. So before the talk, Amy asked briefly for our titles, and we have a really hard time saying what our titles are because we have so many or different ones or not exactly specific ones. And I think that that's something that we really believe in. That the titles are not. It's really hard to say what people's jobs are today, and it woo. And we also think that part of the fun of what we're doing is that it's a really collaborative experience that is filled with, I'm going to go with the C's. It's filled with curious people who are trying to respond to help a community of interested, curious news readers, and we're trying to give them the context they need to help understand the world. I don't know if that was a sentence or just a run-on.
No, it's a paragraph, but that's okay. That's good. Yuri, do you have a sentence?
Sure. I think we had a hypothesis, and I'm going to use some ands. I think we had a hypothesis that people were interested in news and it was not accessible to them, and I think that the reason we've been successful is that our hypothesis was correct.
Yeah, I think that's right. When I look at explainer sites, just the rise of explainer sites, things like Upshot and 538, I think there was this need for context in news, and it's being filled, and you can see with your growth that that's happening. So crowd questions we can go to if someone has one. We've got a hand up way in the back. Well, we're going to all the way back there. Amy's going to come back. I got one other question for you. These guys are very enthusiastic about their work, which I love. They're also awesome people who I hang out with a lot in my spare time. And I wanted to just ask you how when you go about hiring people, how do you find people who are also just as enthusiastic as you are? Because I feel like you're doing a great job with hiring. At Vox, I see people getting hired, and I see them really buying into the mission of the place. Is there something in the process? Is it all the booze? What is it?
Culture isn't about booze. I liked Ezra's quote, is that we look for people that are weird and obsessive. And it's the person, like you said, I go home and on my weekends I'll build a CMS because I just can't not build it. When I have an idea, I have to get it out. And it's the people who go and they're so interested in healthcare that they actually will go and print out a 2,000-page document and read it over the weekend, not because it feels like work, but because it feels like fun. And that's the kind of obsessive people that we want, the people that really, really care and want to do their job, and that's the kind of people that we want to go for.
Cool. That's a great answer. We've got a question in the back.
Yeah, hi. I think I like what you guys are doing. I like the way you spin up new ideas and new content. But I'm wondering how you take the approach of archiving that content. You've got this awesome idea, you got this great story, you built this thing, wham, it's done, it's out, everybody loves it. Next thing. What happens to that piece of content? How do you deal with archiving content so people can find it next week, next year, 5 years from now? Is that something you even care about?
Oh, definitely. I think I think that you're asking a question that we don't totally have an answer to yet. Before this talk, I was speaking, I believe his name was Andy, a professor here who, there he is. He's trying to escape. I saw you. So Andy was talking about how he works, one of his classes is on Wikipedia and how Wikipedia works, if that's correct. And I was saying, hey, send over some people. Because I think that we need to figure out this component better than what we have right now. I mean, I think that there really is a need for library of science experts who can understand how to correlate and coordinate the stories that we have. But we are doing it in small ways right now. We're thinking about, if you look on any of our stories, you'll see that the time is not published on, it's updated at. Because we really believe that that we're always going to be bringing back old stories if there's a reason for it. We never want our old work to go away. I think that we talk about a lot. Our reporters do so much work in subjects that they're really interested in, that they're obsessed over, and that work is spread out over 2,000 different blog posts or stories or articles or videos or whatever it may be. And we don't want them to have to spend so much work doing the repetitive work. We want them to be doing the new work. So something like our card stacks we think is as persistent content. It's always updated, it's always there. If we have a story, the other day, Gamergate, we have an explainer on Gamergate. We resurface it when new news breaks, and we go into the old story, we update it with the new content, and we republish it. So that's some of the first steps that we're taking, but there's a lot more that we can go into.
When you form new project team, oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
When you form new project teams and you start something new and there's a new collaborative team, what is your exit strategy? When do you know you're done, and how do you apportion the resources to get all of the ideas going?
We talk about it on subway rides. I mean, I think that when I say like think small, it's like, focus down on one idea. And I think that when we try to set, before each project, we say, what will success look like for this project? And we have a couple things that we say, this is what we want to see out of this. And if it doesn't work, if we don't hit that success, then we move on to the next project. And a lot of times, though, we often say, we'll come back to this, because there's good in most ideas. It's just maybe that's not the right time to do it. So a lot of our projects we come back to. We'll go away from it for a couple months, cool off from that idea, and then get back to it later on. So
Okay, question in the back.
All right, 2 questions, and before I ask them, I am not accusing Vox of age discrimination, but you looked very young in those pictures. What is the average age of someone that works at Vox, and how about the oldest person that works there?
So it is a young company. Vox Media, I think the average age is in the 30s, and it's not because of age discrimination in any sense whatsoever. But we do get a lot of applications from younger writers, reporters, developers, designers. And I think that, I firmly believe I always tell this story, but I love her so much. One of my best friends at the Washington Post is Yura Conscious, and she's an amazing reporter over there. We sat next to each other just by circumstance. And so she was constantly asking me questions about what's this stupid hashtag thing mean, and what should I use, what website should I use, and all that kind of stuff. And the more I talked to her about it, the more she was excited about the possibilities of the internet. And now she's I just think she's one of the smartest minds about what you can do with content. She's constantly coming up with strange Pinterest ideas. She covers home and design, and she's got it. She's so good. So I would hire Yura, come work for me. No, but, in a minute, she's so fantastic. It's not about to me, it's not about the age. It's about the curiosity that they have about what's possible online. But so far, we have not found a ton of people over the age of 40, probably.
Okay, we probably have time for 2 questions. I'm going to go right here and then to you. Okay.
So since we're hosted by Amy, the media entrepreneurship professor, to start that big, that fast, with really talented people and technology in an office, that takes money. Where does the money come from? How's your revenue doing? How does this all come together?
Yeah, can you answer that?
Yeah, no. So Vox Media is a venture capitalist-backed company, and we have a really strong commitment to brand advertising. We believe that, and we have a fantastic sales team. I mean, it was great I always think that I was able to start up the easiest startup because we were walking into a company that sort of just provided me the platform to create a company. I didn't have to worry about finding advertising salesmen, and I didn't have to worry about finding great office space. It was all there for me. So we were able to focus on building this product out. Vox Media is, we believe that if you build great brands with strong audiences, there's going to be a continued rise in brand advertising online. And so, we're seeing that we build really great experiences for our advertisers that are similar to our experiences for our editors and reporters. So we have a team of in-house advertising creative people who are creating content for advertisers. And likewise, we have teams that work on editorial content. So.
So much for coming. So you guys have talked a lot about a couple of different things. You talked a lot about collaboration between different skill sets. You talked about curiosity, but then you also talked about passion and like having people that really drill down. And so with all those things being said, I was wondering how you guys feel about fluid beats. And I wish I could give her credit for this, but I can't remember her name. She's an editor from The Atlantic who talked about the idea of fluid beats. So it's like, you're not just a reporter covering the internet, but you're a reporter covering a concept. And so I was wondering how you guys feel about the idea of fluid beats and its potential to, support curiosity to cover stories that are happening at the intersection of issues, and whether you might have a job for someone who's interested in that.
I think that I love that term. Was it Megan Garber? Okay, she's a great Atlantic writer. A fluid beat. I haven't heard that, but I do like that terminology. I think that when we think about this, I think there's news topics that come up. But they're oftentimes sort of overarching storyline that are sort of centered around different subjects. And I think that that's where we look to have people who are curious about those subjects and then figuring out how to drill down into the different news topics. We have a human rights attorney who's come and joined us, and this is her first job as a writer. And her passion is in human rights. She really cares about human rights, and she's worked in it for many years, and she's incredibly, well versed in it. And that's sort of her overarching storyline. But because of her expertise in that subject matter, she's able to take it to different news topics. So she wrote one of our best stories about Emma Watson and the threat against Emma Watson to reveal nude photos that turned into be still a threat, but also a marketing prank. And so she's able to bring her expertise into subjects that are in the news in different ways. And I think that that's something that we really believe in. We want people to sort of say, like, I'm going to take my knowledge about X and apply it to Y. And that's important to us.
I'm sorry, but I just got the wrap-up sign from Amy, so I think we're out of time. But thanks to Merissa and Yuri for coming. I appreciate it. And we've got a few more minutes outside, right?
It's called the ONADC Meetup, so you guys can all meet up. We still have some. You did a good job on the food. It's gone. But there's still some sodas and water. Sorry, no booze. College campus. No booze in this room. And thank you all so much for coming. I think that I certainly learned a lot. I mostly learned that I'm not going to send a group email to you, Yuri, to thank you. So accept our thanks now. And thank you all so much for coming.